let's talk, because I'm super interested in all the herbs, but I think a lot of my audience has a cannabis bent. You mentioned the suppositories. I think that those can be a very good option, but for a relatively smaller number of people. What other ways do you use cannabis, and how can we maybe give a little bit of an explanation for folks how you do it, and then they can always refer to your book for all of the specific details.
Absolutely. So before I got to the place and space where I was, just creating concoctions daily, random, whenever I could get my hands on new herbs, I was a pickleaholic.
Oh, you pickled a lot of things. Yeah.
I'll pickle
I
any.
love that. I lived in Japan. They pickle a lot of things in Japan, and one of my favorite types of pickles is called takuan, and is named after an old Buddhist monk who is also a hero of mine in many other ways. Anyway, you can pickle so many things, you'd be surprised. Go ahead, including plums for that matter.
Everything. I love if you sit still too long in my house, you might get pickled. I pickle everything. I love pickles. So I started with pickling, and yet again, grandma wisdom, your body's a temple, be careful what you put in it. So when I began consuming cannabis and introducing cannabis into my treatment plan and trying to figure out, I don't necessarily want to combust, or I don't want to combust, often or frequently. It does serve a particular purpose. And if that's your particular thing, that's great. But for me, right, I have asthma. I deal with respiratory concerns. I've been an expert speaker for the American Lung Association. So, for me, my consumption methods tend to be a bit different. And also, it's super important for me to be very, very clear and very lucid, meaning
clear in your head.
Very, very much so, right? So the the buzzy, head high, psychoactive response, reaction, that type of thing is not necessarily what I'm going for. So what I use, what I learned, what I realized is using raw cannabis. So I'm pickling stuff, and then one day I legit just chucked a nug. I just chucked a nug in my pickles one day. No, like no joke. I just, with its herbs. Oh yeah, give me one. Bang, just threw it in there and just put the top on, stuck it in the fridge, and let's see what's gonna happen. Those are the best pickles of my life. They were awesome pickles, and there wasn't the psychoactive. There was no buzzy head. There was no different response. I could consume them in my food, and it gave me the amazing relaxation in my muscles. It
Oh wow,
took away the pain and the aches in my joints without altering me in my mind.
fantastic.
So
And with raw cannabis, for folks who don't know, raw cannabis contains THCA that has not been converted. When it is heated, whether if you're smoking or inhaling, or if you bake brownies, that heating process changes it from a non-psychoactive molecule, THCA, to the psychoactive molecule, which we call THC, or delta 8 THC if you want to get more technical about it. So to make a pickle, take me through the process. I've got a mason jar, and I've got salt, right? That's the key ingredient.
I don't actually, it's interesting you're saying that. I don't.
No, that's why I'm asking you.
Right. No, and I'm listening to you, and that's what I'm realizing is that there's right. So there's so many different ways to pickle. What you're referring to is what I believe is more like a salt cured pickle, like a brine.
Okay.
And that's absolutely one way to do it. I think I might be closer to fermentation than I am.
Oh, okay. Like sauerkraut kind of thing.
Exactly. So I am in my process. So empty mason jar, pickling spices, black pepper, whatever.
Love it. Okay.
Right. And I love throwing some turmeric in, because the way you were referring to like the envoy. So, I know black pepper and turmeric, they love hanging out together. So I love putting them together.
Sure do. And yes. Turmeric, I'm just going to interrupt because these are important for folks to miss. Black pepper contains beta-caryophyllene, which is a sesquiterpene that has its own medical benefits. And turmeric has well-documented anti-inflammatory effects. And not the beta-caryophyllene in the black pepper, but a different chemical called piperine. enhances our body's absorption of turmeric. And the Ayurvedic folks in the subcontinent of India discovered this thousands of years ago, but black pepper and turmeric go well together, and they taste good together too.
Tastes amazing. Some turmeric, especially if I'm doing a bread and butter pickle, by the way. That makes for an amazing bread and butter pickle. But I use honey. So I make what would be almost equivalent of an Oxymel to make my pickles, right? I don't use sugar and I don't use salt. I use vinegar, honey, herbs, spices, and then I'll cut down the cucumber and I add it to, twist the top on, shove it in the refrigerator, make sure there's some fresh dill in there. So that's, that's my pickling process. There's lots of different ways, if you want to add salt to it, you can.